In this video, you will watch a private coaching call I gave to my higher level students, teaching them the exact strategies that have helped me travel in luxury around the world in the most extravagant business and first class seats. This is a high level and comprehensive training, so buckle up and get ready to take notes. Normally, I wouldn't be sharing such information outside of my private group, but this information is too good not to share. This video is for anyone that dreams of making travel easier. And from my experience, if you have access to credit, the right credit cards, and the right information, the entire world opens up to you. And not just in economy, but in business and in first class seats. Yes, the lay down seats 10 hours over the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean, like I've been doing for the last 5 years. Like in Q Suites last week from Qatar, or Etihad first class from London, or first class on Emirates to Amsterdam. Listen, over the last 5 years, I have coached over 3,000 entrepreneurs on how to get access to the best 0% interest business credit cards through my program Credit Stacking, which I'll link down below. But side by side to credit stacking strategies are the point stacking strategies, which I'll cover in this video. Let's dive in, get your notebook ready, it's gonna be good. I'm gonna share my screen and I have a bunch of different tabs pulled up. I'm just gonna go through a bunch of different topics. Really, when it comes to the point stacking, I want you guys to think as much like me as possible when it comes to how you're looking at different benefits of cards, different rewards, how to look at different flight deals, how to consider the different deals when you're trying to plan a trip to X location. What flight tool are you going to use? When you see these flight deals come in on the newsletters, like what I'm looking for, because the more I think you can think like me on this specific topic, the better you're going to be. So a lot on this call, I'm just going to be thinking out loud, going over these several different topics. I hope you can take notes through this presentation, through this call, because I think it's going to be some really good stuff. So I'm going to share my screen and we are going to jump right in. We're going to circle back to this Citi one. Hopefully it doesn't sign me out, but this is a Citi Strata card. I've talked about this card recently. It's a very good card. One resource I love to look at on a monthly basis is this upgradedpoints.com for the best sign-up bonuses of every single month. I'll just Google best sign-up bonuses and I'll look for the upgraded points December edition because it's December right now. In January, there's gonna be another one, but I Google it, then I look for the upgraded points page and find it just like this. If you are ready for another personal card, well, perfect. It shows you the 11 best personal cards with the highest sign-up bonuses. We'll go through some of these. And then 9 of the best business cards. Okay, when it comes to personal cards, if you haven't already heard me say this yet, you only want to do no more than 2 personal credit cards in a 6-month period. Okay, you don't want to do 5 at once. It's going to really set yourself back. Okay, so you want to be strategic. You want to go for the best and you just want to make sure you're getting the most bang out of your effort. Okay, one of the ones that was on this list is this Citi Strata Elite card. It's a 100,000 point sign-up bonus. Okay, if you haven't heard me talk about this card, I've been ranting and raving about this card, Citi Strata Elite. I have this card and I'm going to go through some of the benefits for you. One, you get the 100,000 point sign-up bonus, and these points are transferable to American Airlines, okay? That's a very big deal because they're the only bank that lets you transfer bank points to American Airlines. And that's new. It's brand new as of like 2-3 months ago. It's brand new. So that's a really good thing. So I'm doing my sign-up bonus right now. You have to spend, I think it's $5,000 in the first 3 to 6 months, something like that. So I'm doing that. Obviously, you don't want to over leverage yourself. And then here's some of the other benefits because it does have a $600 annual fee. Okay. But you do have a lot of good statement credits. You have a $300 annual hotel credit. You just book it through Citi and it credits you automatically. You get 4 passes to the American Airlines Admiral's Lounge, which is a really good lounge. And if you're near an airport that has one of these lounges, it might be a great thing because you want to be hanging out in the lounge. There's nicer people. It's just more comfortable. They have food, drinks, nicer bathrooms. It's where you want to be hanging out. The global entry, of course. Okay, so there's some really good benefits to this. The Splurge credit. So if you do end up getting this card, I don't know how much longer this sign-up bonus is going to last. If your credit profile can afford
another personal credit card. This is probably the number one I would recommend. We'll go back to that list and I'll see if I would amend that claim, but it's very good. And that's why I just got it. For the Splurge credit, you can choose 2 brands. So it basically gives you a $200 statement credit to either of these 2 brands. And there's actually some more brands, but I don't think they're ultra relevant to a lot of people. But anyways, you have to choose 2. I think the easiest way to get value from this is just go to Best Buy and then you just buy a Visa gift card or an Amazon gift card. Okay. And then you get the confirmation number from the Best Buy gift card. Let's see, because I literally just did this. Okay. I did this last night. I went to Best Buy, about $100. What I should have done, because it gives you 200, I did 100 at American Airlines and 100 at Best Buy, but then I realized you can just do 200 at just one of them. If I were to do it again, I would have just done a $200 Amazon gift card. And then you click this and you get your code and then you just load it into your Amazon wallet. It's super easy. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up the topic on this Citi card, but it is an amazing card. I don't know how many years I'll have this card, but it's specifically worth it to pay the annual fee, get these get these benefits, and then get the 100,000 point sign up bonus. Now let's look at some of the other cards. Okay, 60,000. I'm not interested. 70,000. American Airlines. Decent. There's probably some, it's expensive, but maybe there's some other benefits to it. Out of these 3, though, I would go Citi, Strata, Elite because these are transferable to American Airlines. 60,000 on the Atmos, not great, but Bilt is the only bank that transfers to Atmos, which is the new program for Alaska Airlines and Hawaiian. So they're really hard to get. Not a bad option just because they're so scarce, but it's just not a bunch of miles. 75,000. If you're debating one of the Capital One Venture, like Venture or Venture X, well, I potentially would do this limited time offer, 100,000. You do have this annual fee, but there's a $300 travel credit for hotels booked through Capital One. They give you 10,000 Capital One points on an anniversary basis. So it basically wipes the fee out. So that's a pretty good one as well. I'd put that pretty high on my list right now, maybe number 2. The negative about Capital One is they'll pull from all 3 bureaus. They'll do a hard inquiry on Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. So that is part of that's a negative of the Capital One, but it's still a good travel card. And it also gives 2 points per dollar spent on everything. So it's a great card. This Atmos card, this could be a good one. It does come with an annual fee, but I'm sure there's some good credits on it. It gives you a little bit more than this other 60,000 point Atmos card. I'd have to look at what are the benefits of paying this annual fee, but this one might be more advantageous than this other Atmos. The Sapphire cards, fantastic. We have new elevated offers. I just downgraded the reserve I had to a Freedom Unlimited because you only can have 1 reserve. Okay. And I saw these good sign up bonuses. So I downgraded my reserve, which I've had for years, downgraded it to the Chase Freedom Unlimited so I could then apply for a new Sapphire card. And at the time I applied for the Sapphire Preferred when it was a 100,000 point bonus. That's a lot of points for only $100 annual fee. So that's a killer deal. Do the same type of talking on these business cards, but I think you guys, I hope you're getting the point of how I'm looking at these cards, looking at these elevated offers, and then always consider the requirement, the spend requirement for each sign-up bonus. Like the sign-up bonus on the American Express Business Gold is pretty high. I think it's 10 or 20,000. So like if you're getting a business card and your business doesn't spend that 15,000 in 3 months, like if your business doesn't spend $5,000 a month, then it's probably not going to be a good card. So you always want to consider what is the spend requirement and am I already spending that? It shouldn't be something where like it's making you spend more money. It should be like what you're already spending or already going to spend. You don't want to overextend yourself, okay? It's very important. So that is it for the elevated sign-up bonuses. Another resource I look at on a monthly basis is the transfer bonuses, okay? So what I do here, this is my favorite for transfer bonuses. So for elevated sign-up bonuses, I like upgraded points. If you're taking notes, note that down. For transfer bonuses, I like frequent miler. So I just type in best transfer bonuses. It's the first organic link, frequent miler. And I like it because it shows it in a nice table. So we can see here built big bonuses to the British Airways Avios. These are actually all the same Avios. They share the same currency. You only get 100% bonus if you have status at Bilt. I used to have it. I don't have it anymore, but that's a pretty big bonus, 100%. So if you transfer 100,000 points, it turns into 200,000 points. So that's a really big bonus, but you do need the status to get the 100% bonus. If you just have the low tier status at Build, I think it's like a 25 or 40% bonus. Still good, but just not as good. Chase, 30% to Virgin. Last month, it was actually a 40% bonus it was a 40% bonus from Virgin or from Chase to Virgin. Okay. Now this month, it's a 40% bonus from American Express to Virgin. And I'll show you, it says targeted. I wonder if that's for everybody. I'll show you different examples of really good domestic deals you can get with Virgin Atlantic miles. I just booked a flight last night for somebody from San Diego to Salt Lake City for 11,000 points. And that's very common. Like I just flew from LAX to Salt Lake City times 3 people is 11,000 points per ticket. And I only because of the 40% bonus, I transferred, we'll break it down on a per ticket basis. If you transfer 8,000 points, it turns into 11,000. Okay. And then I booked the flight for 11,000. Okay. So it only costed me technically 8,000 Amex, or actually at the time it was Chase points, which is like absolutely, I consider that free. Chase to Air Canada, we got a 25% bonus, not bad. And we have Chase to IHG. I don't think really used IHG, so that doesn't excite me at all. And hotel points are worth less. So like 70%, it's really not that good. When I look at these, there's some times where I'm making speculative transfers and other times where I'm only making a transfer to book a flight. Okay, so what I mean by that is if there's this Amex 40% bonus, Amex to Virgin, okay, that's a really good transfer bonus. Okay, so I might be, and this is what I did this last year and I just did it recently, last month. I transferred like 150,000 last month, Chase points to Virgin. Okay, 150,000 plus a 40% bonus. It came out to like I got 210,000 points in Virgin. Okay, for some people, that's not a good idea because that's a lot of points to have in Virgin. And once they're in the airline currency, you can't transfer them out. Okay, but for me, because the biggest airport is Salt Lake City, which is a Delta hub, and I can book Delta flights with Virgin points. And I'll show you examples, 11,000 all day. It's crazy. So I know, I have a good feeling I'm going to use those points. Okay, so that's a speculative transfer that makes sense for me. Okay, if you're considering transferring your Citi points to American Airlines and you live next to an American Airlines hub, then that could be a good idea, especially if there's a transfer bonus. Okay, but I'm not making a speculative transfer from Chase to Air Canada. Like 25%, it's decent, but at the moment, I don't have any flights I'm trying to book on Air Canada miles. So I'm not going to speculate that transfer. Okay. I did book a flight from Chicago to Munich with like 10 friends last month, and it was on Air Canada. And if I didn't have Air Canada miles, then to do that, you just need to transfer them over. And if there's a transfer bonus at that time, then cool, you got lucky and you got that bonus. That's probably why I had Air Canada miles in there in the first place, because I probably did a speculative transfer sometime in the past. I did a speculative transfer to ANA, which is a Japanese airline. And let me actually mention this. So this is important. People ask, do points expire? Okay, bank points like Chase, Amex, Capital One, the bank points never expire. You only forfeit them if you close all of the cards you have with that bank, right? If I have a Capital One Venture card and I close my Capital One only card, then it's going to forfeit all the points. I'm pretty sure how that works. I've never actually done that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. When you transfer points to an airline currency, they expire. Every airline's different, but if there's no activity on the account in a 12 to 24 months. Let me show you an example, actually. I have this pulled up. So this is Award Wallet. I have a video talking about this in the course, but this is a data. It's a kind of a database that tracks all of my points, okay? So it's telling me I have 54,000 points in Avianca that are expiring in 2 months, okay? So what that means, I'm pretty sure if the account is inactive for 12 months, then the points expire. However, to reset the activity clock in Avianca, I can just send 1,000 points into Avianca, or I can book a flight. But if I don't have a flight to book, well, I can just send 1,000 points into Avianca, and that's activity. Okay, so now if I do that, then I have 12 months until the points expire unless there's other activity in the account. For ANA, there's no restarting the activity clock. They strictly expire after 3 years. And I didn't know that. So that was a misstep I made. And hopefully I'll be able to use the ANA points I have before the 3 years. Okay. So now I want to go through some newsletters, and I just want to go through them and just I want you guys to listen to how I'm thinking out loud about these things. And so when I see these come in, so I have the Thrifty Traveler newsletter and I have the Straight to the Points. A lot of time they share the same deal, but there are some differences. So I have both. It's like $100 a year for each of them, and I just like having both. So this comes in Qatar Airways Q Suites. It's the best business class in the game. I'm thinking, okay, that's a Middle East airport. Do I want to go to the Middle East? I'll just click this and think like, okay, well, the headliner is a pretty good deal. 35,000 points. Maybe I do. Pretty nice seat. I think it shows you here. You can book it on Qatar miles. You can also book it on British Airways, Avios miles. And remember on this transfer bonus, well, there's actually a 100% transfer bonus from Bilt to British Airways. So if you transfer 50K, it'll turn into 100K. Okay, so keep that in mind. So we have a transfer bonus. Okay, it's a pretty good deal. 70,000 Q Suites. Now let's check the routes and the dates. Let's see, like, would I even want to go to this place, the Middle East? So basically, the only reason I would go to Doha in Qatar is if I was going to Dubai. Going to Dubai in the fall would be a good time to go just based on weather. Do I see any fall dates? Okay, I see some November dates. I'm in Utah, so the closest airport would be Houston, IHA, or Chicago. And so, okay, if I wanted to pursue this, I would go to one of these. I would either go to Qatar and log in and start to punch in some of those dates and see if the deal is actually available. And this was sent 1 day ago, so there's probably a lot of availability. I would also go to British Airways, which actually I have points in. So I would start looking at British Airways first and see if these dates are available, and then consider, do I actually want to go? I thought about it, but I'm not really interested at this moment to book that. And a lot of times if you're thinking like, okay, I want to plan a trip to Europe, and that's the only place I really want to go internationally. So when I see these emails come in, okay, British Airways to London, that could be, I would try to avoid London for sure. But okay, we see this one, business class to Madrid. That could work for Europe. Hong Kong, obviously not Europe. American Air business class. Okay, cool. So if I'm trying to plan a trip to Europe and I see these come in, and the older the emails get, the less availability will be available. Okay. So these are all sent in like the last week. So these are all probably pretty good options. Okay. Virgin Atlantic, that's going to go through London for the most part. And again, I would try to avoid London unless you're actually trying to go there. But Madrid, that could be a good one. It says wide open space, 41K. Okay. We got British Airways, pretty damn good deal. That's obviously business class, right? Damn good deal. We can see here. Okay. It's a pretty nice seat. I'd say a pretty nice one, not top tier, but definitely pretty damn nice. You got this space here, a lot of privacy. I'd say it's a pretty damn good one. We can see only flight route is from Newark. Okay, so if you're on the East Coast, that could be very good. If you're on the West Coast, then you have to do a positioning flight to Newark, so not the best routing. And you can see there's a ton of space. So that's pretty killer. So if I was serious about a Europe trip, I would consider this, especially if I was closer. If I was in the Northeast, then this would be a really good option. Okay. But if I was on the West Coast, maybe not the best option. Now we can check this one, American Airlines to Europe. Okay. Now let's go check the routing. And it also says some of the routing up here. Routes to Barcelona from Miami and Philadelphia. Okay, Dallas. Okay, so if I'm in the middle of the country or even the West Coast, if I live in California and I see a Dallas route, I'm interested because I can just take a cheap cash ticket or maybe even a cheap points ticket to Dallas to get the Dallas to Frankfurt option. Okay, and it's called a positioning flight. So I see here there's a lot of different options. We can book with Alaska Atmos miles. We can book it for 65 American, Cathay, Finnair, Avios. So let me think out loud on this one real quick. So if I could book this route for 65,000 Finnair, Avios, or American Airlines 65,000, or Alaska Airlines 55,000, some people would think, oh, 55,000, that's the least expensive. I'm going to do that. However, Alaska Airlines, the only bank you can transfer into Alaska is built. Okay, so these are very scarce miles. So if I don't have to use my Alaska miles, I don't want to. American Airlines, still pretty scarce because Citi is the only bank you can transfer into. But Finnair, I think if we go up here, it will show us all the banks you can transfer to Finnair. You can transfer Amex, Bilt, Capital One, and Chase, and Marriott into British Airways, and then you can convert your British Airways Avios into Finnair Avios, okay? So if you have a bunch of Chase points, a bunch of Amex points, Capital One, well, sweet. I would use those because they're transferable into Finnair or transferable into British Airways. Then you combine your Avios. I'll show you what this looks like. You just combine the Avios. You just say you want to transfer from, so you transfer your points from Amex to British Airways, and then we need to convert the Avios from British Airways to Finnair. Oh, actually, you can transfer to Qatar Airways. That's actually pretty cool. But anyways, that's how you convert your Avios. So Aer Lingus, Finnair, Qatar Airways, and one more, Iberia. They're all on Avios. I think Iberia is. There's one more. I think it's Iberia. But anyways, that's how I'm thinking out loud on, okay, if I can book one of these options, I'm going to try to book the Finnair Plus, okay, for sure. And then I'm looking at routing, okay, Barcelona, great city, Dallas. Okay, so if I am on the east or the west coast, I want a Dallas route. Okay, Dallas to Frankfurt, not that many dates. Dallas to Madrid, one date. Not a bunch of options, okay? So if that works, great. If it doesn't work, then just keep looking. And this is just looking at the newsletters, okay? Next, we're gonna go to the flight softwares, Austria Airlines, okay? A decent seat, I'd say a decent seat, not top tier, but decent. We can see Air Canada, 70,000, Avianca, possibly 61,000. Okay, into Vienna, East Coast, Washington, D.C. What is that? Montreal, I think. ORD, only one date. So not the best option, okay? But that's how I'm looking at these emails. If I'm thinking, and again, my thought there was, I want to go to Europe, so I'm going to be looking for specific emails that help me get to Europe. If I was looking to go to Asia, okay, so I see this Hong Kong here. I see this Seoul, South Korea. I see, now we're getting a little deep down in it. Not ideal because these are, some of the inventory is going to be gone. Oh, Condor Business for Europe. I actually booked one of these on my way back from Europe to Alaska, doing a snowboard trip in Austria. And then I'm going basically straight to Alaska. And I booked this. I don't even know if it says Alaska. Anchorage, hold on, maybe it does. Am I going to Anchorage? I'm going to Juneau. It's not even on this, but I did book it. And basically how I did that, so my situation was I have a trip booked to Munich. It was Chicago to Munich for 70,000 Air Canada miles. And then I ended up getting like 8 or 9 of my friends on the same flight. It was insane. So then I was thinking, if I'm trying to do an Alaska trip after Europe, I wonder if I can go straight from Europe basically straight to Alaska. I wonder if that's possible. I didn't know if it was possible on a good deal. So then I typed in, I think I just typed in Munich. I probably typed in Frankfurt and maybe 1 or 2 other airports around. And then I put in Juneau, the Alaska airport I'm trying to go to. And this is like 28th, I'm pretty sure I'm going. Let's see if this flight's still available. That's interesting. I just booked it. So I wonder why. Well, it's saying it's not available. But anyways, I was like, I wonder if it's available to book. So I just searched the airports. It gave me a killer deal. Maybe I even searched on here. Let's see if this shows anything different. Munich. And so my go-to is SeatZero. SeatZero has the best search functionality. You can search multiple airports. There's more filters. It's just really great. You can do several days, several airports. It's the best. Rome is somewhat similar to SeatZero, but sometimes it shows me different options. So if I just search Europe, I wonder if I do Munich. I wonder if it's going to show me here. Munich, Juneau. And then we're going to do, and you can search, I think it's 60-day time frame on Rome. Let's see, 17. And then you want to search most likely business, especially international. Let's see what that pulls up. But anyways, if I'm tight on timelines, or if I'm like, I need to be from this airport to this airport on this specific date, Point Me is going to be great. I really, this is always my go-to, but if my dates are fixed, then I'm generally looking at Point Me, or sometimes I'll cross check. But Point Me is pretty good. Point Me is easy. It's like a great interface. It's very easy to see the flights. Like if you look at Seats Arrow here, let's just change this so we can at least see some options here. Let's open it up to plus or minus 14 days. Like here, we can't see the flight times unless you click here, pull this open. It's obviously like a lot of information. It's just less user-friendly, you could say. Munich to Seattle. I mean, it shows you great options. It's just less user-friendly. Where like Seats Arrow, oh wow, maybe that flight's just not even available anymore. Maybe I snagged it. It was like 85,000 Atmos points from Europe to Alaska. It was a killer redemption. I wonder what the cash cost on it was. I should have got a screenshot. But anyways, that's how I would use the tool. But let me show you maybe some options. And if I'm flying domestic, I'm generally flying economy. Like I prefer to get like a economy ticket domestically for example, 7,500 points, 9,000 points. That's nothing. If I do business, it'll probably cost me like 30,000. Like I'll get better value of my points if I save that 30,000 for a big intercontinental international business class flight, because I can get that for 50, 60, 70. Unless sometimes you can get business class for 15,000 Atmos miles. Anytime if it's 15,000 business class domestic, that's when I'll splurge and take advantage of it. Like for example, let's see. So we can see this one is 7,500 Atmos. Let's see if that same flight, if we research this, is 15. I mean, or we could just click this. I wonder if it can log me in just super quick. Okay, so it brings us here. We can see this is just a killer deal. Obviously, it's a little bit early. This one's might be a better flight time being in the middle of the day. Still an insane deal. Sometimes if it's 7,500, that's when sometimes it's 15K for first class. I'm not seeing it here, but like this one has a stop. But if I was considering this one, 12,500 or 45,000 for first class, like me, I have a ton of points, but I want to save my points for using them for bigger flights. So I wouldn't book this because it's just a too long of a flight. But if I'm comparing these two, 12,500 for economy versus 45,000 for first class, personally, I'm booking the economy ticket. However, if you're someone that's thinking like, I don't really care to go internationally, like I'm just not going to be doing that realistically, well, then you might as well start to use your points and enjoy that luxury domestic. So if that is you, then maybe spending the 45,000 on the first class, that could make sense. Obviously, this is not a good route with the layover, etc. But like, I want to try to find a $15,000 example, 15,000 point example. But like, look how insanely cheap all this is for domestic. Okay, here we go. Like if I was debating this, 3.5 hour flight, 7,500 points versus 15K first class, like that is a time where I'm definitely using my points for first class. It's just too good of a deal to not. Okay, so now I'm going to show some really good options on how I can use my Virgin points. Okay, so if we do this, let's just open it up to 28 days. So February 28th. Plus or minus 28 days. So all of Feb into March. And a lot of times when you run a search and you go to programs, well, I think it's showing all of them, but sometimes it only shows like a couple for some reason. I like to show these. Azul, like I don't even know what that is. You can't even, I don't even know what it is. Virgin Australia, you can't use as an American. So it's basically like these. You could do all of them, but I wouldn't do Azul or Virgin Australia. 4,000? Are you kidding me? I don't even know if I've seen it that cheap. That is insane. I need to see what this looks like. 4,000. I wonder what this cash. Okay, let's just see points and cash. I mean, dang, that's a freaking cheap cash ticket. $69 for the cheapest, 100 for the main. I mean, still, if you're doing 4,000 versus $100, it's a pretty good spread right there for me. Because I like to do the international stuff. If it was me, I'd probably just pay the $100. Because even if you think about it, if we do cents per point, okay, so we do the cash cost, cash right here. You could do saver, but let's just do the example for the main. 104 cash cost divided by the amount of points. Okay, so 0.26. If we move the decimal point now 2 over, so this is just giving us the cents per point. Okay, so it's 2.6 cents per point. Okay, not bad. Like that's better than what the bank portal is going to give you. So for an average like this is better than the average person to use your points versus paying the cash. I like to get at least 3 cents per point personally. You know, on my international redemptions, I'll get 5, 7, 10x. Okay. So this is 2.6. I like to get 5 or 10. And you can do the 5 or 10 on international. Domestic, it's harder. So like a 2.6 cents per point deal, domestic, that's pretty good. So totally up to you. For me, Alaska points, they're very scarce. I would probably try to save it, especially if it was a business trip and I can write this $100 off as a deduction, then that would be my decision there. But even if you just go down this list, wow, I can't believe how freaking cheap the flights are. That's absolutely insane. I want to show you the Virgin. So let's get rid of that one. 6,000. Geez, I guess that's just a great route. Good to see. Let's take away Delta. So obviously we found better deals on the other airlines. However, back to the scarcity of points. If I had the option to book Alaska miles 4,000 or Delta, actually Delta was a little bit better, 8,000. That's pretty good. Usually Delta is actually more expensive than Virgin, but I have a lot of Virgin points and I transfer them from Amex or Chase. Okay, again, with Alaska or American, those are scarce miles. So if I have an option to use a different currency, I will. Even if it was like Alaska 4,000 or American 6,000 or Delta 8,000, I probably would, of those 3 options, I probably would do Delta for 8,000. Again, that's if like you're trying to go hard on your points, like I obviously do, because I want to save my Alaska points for the big international flights. Like when I booked my mom and I and my brother for 55,000 Alaska points, business class from Chicago to Italy, and I've gotten many good redemptions on my Alaska points, and they're scarce. I can't say it enough. Don't waste your American or Alaska points. What else should we go through? Oh, let's see if Rome gave us. Yeah, okay. Another thing you want to do when you do the search is like put a points cap. I like to do 100K. I'm never spending over 100K, and I don't like to spend 100K on one flight. I spent 100K on 2 different flights. One to Japan, but it was like a couple days before this trip and I needed to be there and I got a good deal. It was 100,000 points for a $7,200 ticket. So it was a good deal. It was like a 7 cents per point. It was like 7 times more, 7x redemption. It's still a good deal. But usually I'm trying to get like a 50 or 60,000, or really actually up to 70. 70 is like the sweet spot. But I like to put a cap and I like to cap the fees. Like I'm not trying to pay. If you go through London, you're going to spend like $1,000 in fees. It's ridiculous. So put a cap on there. Let's just do, sometimes you can do a country. There we go. You can do a country on Rome and you can do a country on Seats Aero. I guess you can do a continent. Okay, cool. We got some options here. This is business. I don't know where SSN is. IAD, it's Washington, DC to Munich. 56,000. That's a great deal. Warsaw. LA to Warsaw, that's a long flight. It's a killer deal. Killer deal. Look at that. Nice. There's just too many good deals. I get so excited about this stuff. Can't believe people don't take advantage. Okay, now let's set alerts. Okay, so let's say we don't see a good option. So to create an alert on Rome, you do the search. You do the search of what you want here, and then you create an alert from here. So for example, if it was, can we just go back? Okay. For example, like if this is the route you really wanted and you don't see anything, well, you can create an alert. So this is basically, you would set all these filters. These are all the programs. Yeah, we have Wells Fargo. I do Wells Fargo points. These are all the programs, nonstop. Actually, I don't need nonstop. Premium, you want to make sure it's at least 80% or, business class, mostly business class. The fees, and then you can create an alert. Okay, so if something comes up on this route, on these dates, for these programs, at least 75% business class of the whole trip, maybe it's 2 or 3 flights. I'm going to Munich to Alaska. That could be, I think the route I booked was Munich to Frankfurt to Seattle. That's the long one. That's the business class. And then Seattle to Juneau. Okay, I'm pretty sure that that's like probably economy or maybe like the first class, but Munich to Frankfurt, that's economy. So it was like an 80% premium, and that's what you want. You don't want anything less than that, really. Under 100,000 points. So if something comes up, it's going to alert me via email, and you can check this, and you can even toggle on for text message and put your phone number in there. So that's how you would set an alert. If it was something like, I really want to get something booked, but I possibly want a better option, here's what I would do. I would try to book like a pretty good option. Like if I just wanted peace of mind of having something booked, we could book this. Munich to Frankfurt to Chicago. So at least I know I'm getting business class to Chicago. And then I potentially just have to figure out how to get from Chicago to Alaska in this example, okay? And you can book this as a placeholder. The only negative is if it's a non-United States airliner, there's a cancellation fee of between $75 and $150. So the negative that's, you know, if you want the peace of mind, I would book this flight. If you want to get more aggressive, like on this whole route we're doing, well, maybe just set the alert and then just keep waiting and maybe it'll come up. But the negative is, what if it doesn't come up? Then you're like, oh crap, now I'm stressing a little bit. So if you want the peace of mind, you can always book a placeholder for a cancellation fee of $150, and then you cancel it, get all your points back. I mean, this is a killer deal though. I don't love the fees. Usually they're a little bit less, but 56,000 points, pretty insane. Let's see another placeholder I just booked. I booked a flight. I think I talked about this on last coaching call, maybe, but I booked a flight. I booked a flight for my brother to meet me in Istanbul. And what I did, I'm not sure if I found it on the newsletter, but I was looking at this, USA, large airports to Istanbul, because I already had a flight there for April 28th. Okay. I was already going April 28th. I was going to see, can my brother meet me there? And can I book him the flight? So you go on here, you make sure all the programs are selected. Like, I don't know why this one's not selected already. I don't know why this one's not selected already. Gol, Azul, like, I don't even know. They shouldn't even be on here. Then you filter business class. 65,000. That's killer. This is actually the one I booked him. One of these. This is a killer deal. And so when I saw this, I was like, damn, I can book him from Chicago to Istanbul, which is like a 12-hour flight, 10 and a half for 65,000 points. That's a killer deal, especially like for Turkish. That's a really good deal. And so I booked it, and he's pretty sure he's going to meet me, but he's like, I'm not for sure. I'm like, okay. The risk is that it's Turkish. It's a $70 cancellation fee. Okay, so the downside of this placeholder is $70. The other possibly downside is I had to transfer Capital One points into Turkish, because there's only 2 transfer partners of Turkish, and I think it's Citi and Capital One. Citi, Capital One, I guess built too. But yeah, so I transferred from Citi to Turkish, and to be fair, I've only ever used my Capital One points for Turkish for that relatively unique transfer partner. So anyways, that's one downside. I transferred my points to Turkish, and then I booked him the flight. So if I cancel the flight, then it costs $70 cancellation fee, and then my points are in Turkish. For me, that's not a big deal because I'd probably use my Capital One points for a Turkish flight in the future. So it's not a big deal there, but the $70 is at risk. But I'm hoping he just takes the flight and meets me there. But that's a killer deal. So that's how I would think, like, okay, if I am trying to go to Istanbul or Eastern Europe, right? If I'm trying to go to Eastern Europe, the best way to get there, one of the best ways, is to Istanbul, depending on how east of Europe you're trying to go. Like if you're trying to go to Romania, flying to Istanbul makes a lot of sense. Bulgaria makes a lot of sense to go to Istanbul. So that's the route I would look. If I'm just trying to go to FCO, yeah, Rome, Milan, MXP, Naples, and that's probably just the one. So if I wanted to go these dates plus or minus 3 days, I want to go for anywhere in the US to these airports. Let's see what's available. We want to make sure the programs are selected on Air Mexico. No, it's going to usually be these programs. And once you do this enough, it's probably not, and maybe Emirates goes to MXP. Once you do this enough, you'll kind of memorize which ones would be applicable. You could do all of them for sure. 87,000 points, business class, JFK to MXP. I've done this route before with 20 of my friends, and it was insane on the Emirates A380 double decker. So that's not a bad deal. We have the $430 in fees, but it's a pretty good business class, and it gets you to Milan. If it's blue, it means there's a connection, but it's a good deal. We would want to see where the connection is. So click business, it goes through Belgrade. Oh, nice. I'm actually doing a Belgrade route in July. Oh, it's a long flight. However, if you're like, oh, let me go check out Belgrade for a 21-hour layover, maybe it's a good opportunity. That could be pretty cool. I recommend Belgrade. Serbia is a great place. And again, like if I'm looking at all these 70,000 point options, if I can book 70,000 on Alaska or 70,000 on Aeroplan, well, I would probably want to do Aeroplan because I can transfer from Chase and Amex, which I happen to have a lot of points at. Again, Alaska points are scarce. Same with American Airlines, even though that's a better deal. So maybe that is attractive to me. And of course, you want to look at the different routes. Do I want to go through Helsinki for a 13-hour travel time? Like if I'm considering this 57,000 American or, 87,000 Emirates, and it's a direct, Emirates is pretty nice. So it kind of depends on where you have miles. And if you want to spend the $430 in fees, maybe you want to save the money, up to you. But that's how I would look at just US into Italy. Maybe if you're coming from all the way on the West Coast, you're like, oh, dang, LAX, so 170,000. Like personally, that's not a good enough deal for me to want to book. I would want to do something under 100,000. So we see nothing from the West Coast to Italy under 100,000. But what if we do this? What if we open up the search wider? What if we do 28 days? Maybe we're flexible on our time of when we can travel, and we want to go, maybe we want to do from the West Coast. So if you start to think about, okay, what are the big West Coast airports? LAX, SFO, Seattle. IHA is not West Coast, but it'd be a very easy positioning flight. DFW, decent there. Denver, probably not going to get many options, maybe on United because they're a United hub. But I've actually had fun from San Diego to Munich, probably not Italy though, but we can add that there. So let's just see what comes up. Check all the programs as always. Search business. I'm not seeing this is possibly a good deal. 57,000. Let's see where it connects. Through Helsinki, 15-hour total travel time, 2.5 hours. So it's a quick layover. Not terrible. It's a good deal. You just have to dig around with this layover. Adds like 5 hours of travel time, basically. Not a bad deal. Seattle to Rome, also through Helsinki. Like, for example, if I was looking at these two flights, like, would I want time to go to Helsinki, like a night layover? It says you get there at 1 in the afternoon and it leaves at 7 in the morning. So you get a 1 night layover, like on this option, 31 hours of travel. Like, depend on what you're feeling. You want to go see a new country for a night, that could be pretty cool. I've done that several times. I've done that in India. I've done that in Finland, actually, in Helsinki, and a few other places. It's a cool way to just to see it real quick and continue on your travels. So that's what I would do there. You can do a larger window of time if there's less airports. I think it just has to be 1 airport. Oh, I guess you can do 3 and 3. I forget the threshold, but 3 and 3 works. So let's do that. 180 days. So if you're like, I don't really care when I go, I just really want to go to Italy, let's find the best deal and see what's available. Let's do that. So we're going to search business. We're going to confirm the programs, Virgin Atlantic, and it's probably going to go through London. It's not going to be the best. Let's just make sure it's filtered. It is 150. That's just a bit steep. 88, not bad. Direct, SFO, a 12-hour flight. It's a pretty long flight. Oh, this says 115. This one says 88. It has a Frankfurt stop. So it only adds 2.5 hours of travel, and it saves you 20,000 points, 27. So, maybe that's what you do. And then you'd want to consider, what airline are you flying? This looks like Lufthansa. I think that's what that is. LH Lufthansa. And then if we do a seat map, which we haven't done on this call yet, let's just see what this seat is looking like. Let's just compare these seats, okay? I know what they are, but we're going to compare. So Lufthansa 747, Lufthansa, and this is always how I would do my research. Like if I'm getting down to like 2 different options, I'm going to be looking at the different seats. So seatmaps.com, we go to Lufthansa on 1, And then the other one is United. United's a great business class. I've probably flown that the most. Actually, for sure I have. So we're going to see here 777 for United. You can see right here, Boeing 777. And then on Lufthansa, Boeing 747-8. 740, let's just double check. 747-8. Okay, this one. You see it says -8. There's not many photos for us to look at. That's unfortunate. I don't like, this is an older seat. I just happen to know the layout. It's not top tier. Let's see. Wow, there's no photos on this one. That's really weird. I just happen to know this is an older layout. But if we look at here on United, it was a 777. It doesn't say which 777. This is more complex because there's like several different types, and it's not showing you what it is. What we could do potentially, let's try to book this one. Let's see if I'm logged in. Let's see if the United website will give us any more insight. Let's just see. To show you United Polaris, like it's solid, super solid. Ton of privacy, a good amount of space. Window seat is really nice. It's really just, and also like the bulkhead has more space. Just a quick side note there. Okay, let's just see. Okay. Oh, look at this, 80,000. Is that what it's told us? Is it 115,000? But 80,000, dang, it's a good deal. Okay, let's click this. So we go to, okay, here we can see it, 777-200. 777, it says it right here. 777-200, get out of this. 777-200, both these are 200. Oh, all of these are 200. Ah, dang. So it's kind of a toss up. If it was like this, then now we're getting pretty technical. We can say what aircraft of United Airlines is flown from San Francisco to FCO to Rome. 777-200, 777-200. I mean, one thing you would not want to happen is, you know, obviously like that seat's not as good, right? Compared to this seat. So it would suck to think you're booking this and then end up with this, which I've actually flown this to Hawaii. Yeah, it's decent, but it ain't Polaris business class. Okay, with that being said, we're gonna wrap up. See you guys next week.
Well, hopefully by now your mind is completely blown on what you can do with credit and credit card points. Now listen, if you want to take this to the next level and actually turn these strategies into reality and have help through every step of the process, I want to invite you into my mastermind group. This is where I have far more in-depth trainings, host coaching calls to answer your questions, and much more, all to help expedite results for you while minimizing mistakes if you were to do it yourself. To get started, you would first need to join the credit stacking group for a small monthly subscription, and then click on the toggle for the add-on point stacking. Between getting access to the best cards, earning hundreds of thousands of points this year, and redeeming them for tens of thousands of dollars worth of luxury travel, just like I showed you in this video, the way you travel is about to change forever. So click the link down below, and I'll see you soon.